Good everyone, I'm going to this video. Today we have a updated premium review on the Avenger Mark II for the British. This aircraft is exactly the same as the TBF-1C in the American tech tree. It just has a British paint scheme and of course is a premium. So the Avenger Mark II is a rank 2 battle rating 1.7 premium aircraft and is priced at 1,000 golden eagles. Do I think it's worth the price? Well, this is quite funny because when I first reviewed this thing, I thought, yeah, this thing's trash. Nowadays, though, I don't think it's too bad at all, and I would actually say if you want something a little bit more Lend-Lease, like if you prefer Lend-Lease to unique vehicles, this is definitely a good pickup. Of course, it does clash with the Hudson. The Hudson is 300 GE cheaper, and as a result, it can obviously be seen more for the Hudson being purchased, but for the bit lower BR, and obviously the chance of not being pulled into 3.0 games anymore, this vehicle can definitely bring a lot to the table. Now, whilst its rudder is still a bit stupid, let's just say that's the best way I can put this thing's rudder, it does definitely bring a lot to the table in terms of its, shall we say, abilities, is the way I would put it. So let's go over the armour, the engine, and of course the armament on board the aircraft. So the engine is a Wright R2608 with 1,470 horsepower on 100% and 1,602 on web. Decent power, obviously it is still quite a heavy plane, so it's not exactly going to be like a friggin' fat zero. But it can turn surprisingly well for its size, and it's got a lot of power to help it in most situations. Obviously, it does have a 3-man crew, so you've got your pilot, you've got a spare gunner, which he doesn't actually do anything. You've got your ball turret gunner, and then you've got the lower gunner. This lower gunner isn't really much use, but it's still quite good to see what the lower gunner can do, because mainly it's going to be the top gun doing the work. And as you'll see in this match, this gun can do some work, that's for sure. Going over the main pilot armament, we do have two 50 caliber machine guns. These are the pre-war belts, so these will fire mostly AP. However, you do get a single incendiary round, which can come in handy. The fuel tanks are stored in the central part of the aircraft, and it's quite survivable, as we're going to look at the armour now. The armour is 12.7mm on most areas where the crew is concerned. The ball turret gunner also benefits from a bit of bulletproof glass. The pilot's backrest does have a bit of protection as well, and the engine area does have a little bit of protection as well. The armour is surprisingly good to say how low of a BR this aircraft is, and as you're going to see, this thing can take an absolute pounding before going down. So much so that after the I-15 player had shot out my engine and I'd shot out his, we landed in a field together, and, well, we've had a little talk. Obviously, we didn't actually talk in chat, but I'm sure our pilots and everything, and our gunnery crew, well, the ones that survived in my plane, certainly had a nice little picnic to celebrate how well the match went for me, and no doubt the victory over the Russians, because it was most of the Russians were fighting anyway. But obviously, the main reason why you would buy this aircraft is for the bomb loads as well, not just the capabilities of the aircraft. Now, it only has a few differences compared to a American Avenger. Obviously, the skin is one of them, but then you have these. These are the Uncle Tom rockets, which these things are huge, as you're going to notice. I personally wouldn't use them. I've never really needed to use them because the 500 pounders do the job anyway. So you do get access to 4 500 pound bombs. It only takes 2 of these to take out a base on most maps. Otherwise, you'll need all 4. You also do get access to a torpedo. You'll only want to use this one. And of course, previously mentioned the Uncle Tom rockets, which these are semi-armor piercing high explosive rockets, so they do a lot of damage if they penetrate a vehicle and will instantly kill anything at this sort of tier. And if you hit a plane with it, which is very unlikely, but if you do, I feel sorry for them. That's all I'll say. But of course, this isn't the payload you would take. You would take the 4 500 pounders in nearly all situations. They're stored in the bomb bay and they drop separately. Like I said though, would I recommend this thing over the Hudson? it really depends on you as a person, because not everyone likes big, cumbersome bombers, because the Hudson can be a little bit cumbersome with its maneuvering. This thing can at least turn on a dime for at least a bomber like this can, anyway. But obviously, the Hudson does have the advantage of its survivability. It's even better than this for survivability. It can obviously fly back home on one engine, whereas obviously this thing only has one engine, so if it loses it, it's fucked. And whilst the Hudson lacks the 50 cal, it does have more elevation and coverage with its overall gunners, and it does have a larger bomb load to an extent. Whilst it won't be able to do as much as the Avenger in terms of base bombing, at least, it can definitely do work on ground. And of course, the Hudson does come with rockets as well, although those rockets are very shit. So don't rely on the Hudson's rockets. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more special, and certainly has a bit, like, I would say special though, like, that's not really the word I'd use for this thing. I would probably say it's a bit more, how can I say it? It's difficult to think on the spot, because, like, normally I tend to think in advance for this sort of thing. But I would probably say something that brings a little bit more fun to the table, because the Hudson, whilst it can be very fun, is also quite annoying sometimes. Because obviously it doesn't have the armor, it mainly relies on the fact that it's got a lot of open space. Whereas this thing does have armor and can really do some damage, because it can take a lot of hits to bring this thing down. So that's probably the way I would word it. But yeah, I'll hand you over to the gameplay and then you can judge for yourself, because this thing takes an absolute pounding in this game. But anyway, I'm going to hand you over to the gameplay now. It's just me in this match, and I will see you all on the next one. Well, hello there, Mr. D3A1 Val. How are you doing this afternoon? Oh, you want a head-on? I will gladly accept that. I'll obviously have to be careful, because my engine's a little bit fragile, but, you know. There we go. Ooh! Hello there, Po2M. Might as well go for it. Let's see if we can go get him. I'm obviously going to be a little bit mean, because normally I wouldn't go for an event vehicle, but hey, it's in my gun sight, so why the hell not? What the hell is that username on the frickin' I-15 there? XX Girl Hot Alpha XX. Jesus Christ. Oh brother. What kind of usernames are we dealing with nowadays? Hello, Mr. Po2M. I understand you're going rather slow. Unfortunately, to get you on the pace of traffic, I'm gonna have to give you some 50 cal boost. There we go. This thing does work as a bomber interceptor. I mean, it certainly does it a lot better than what it used to when it was friggin' 2.7. I think this thing was 3.0 at one point, but I reviewed it last when it was 2.7, so just gives you an idea. Is there anything coming for me? J6B, he's ignoring me. There's all those guys over there, and then there's a Stuka. Perfect time to get some bombs off, I think. It only takes 2 500-pounders on most maps to kill a base at such a low tier. So let's see what we can do. 1 and 2. There we go. And we might as well go for the second one, just for a bit of consistency. Because no one's called the bases. The only one that has, I think, was the Vindicator, but I don't know which base he called, so it's fine. Even if my bombs don't kill it, which they should, you can save his bombs for the ground targets or something. If I did accidentally steal your base there, pal, I'm sorry, but to be brutally honest, I didn't even notice that you called a base. Oh well. He's got ground targets to go for. It's not like he's missing out on much RP anyway. I mean, it's not much when you go for a base anyway in the lower tiers, so it's not a huge problem. So, looks like we've got a lot of enemy aircraft here. We've got J11, I-15, J6B, a Stuka who's shooting his guns randomly, and a I-15. It looks like it's just a swarm right now. Gotta be careful. So I would ideally want to go for the I-15 to the left, but I don't really want to leave that pea shooter on his own. All together. See if we can't get the J11 first and then work our way up. There we go. That's a fire. Our airframe is not appreciating this, but that's okay. Gun it. Okay, we have to watch the airspeed a little bit. That's okay. Not really going to be able to help the pea shooter all that much. Right, where's the other I-15? There he is. We just got a crit on the J6B. That might have just been his engine. Airfield's that way, so we're going to turn in and assist against the I-15, because that is a high priority target. Yeah, eat that, son. This thing's quite tanky, so we can afford to take some hits. Of course, he puts his fire out the first thing he does. Come on. Well, his engine will be dead, so I don't need to worry about him too much. I don't know if the J6B will get back to base, but he certainly won't. The I-15 won't. So we've got the valves up there. I'm not too worried about them. There goes the I-15. We're going to swing back round and get the J6B. Like I said, like the teammate in the Rasmussens has cleaned up most of the targets, so we're not too worried about anything, but this thing can definitely do some work. We are pretty bruised, so we're going to be careful here. The J6B won't get back to base, I don't think, judging by his airspeed. So we're just going to have to go and deal with the freaking I-15, which, again, I don't like dealing with I-15s, but unfortunately some of us have to take the matters into our own hands. Nope, there goes my engine. Looks like I'm not getting back to base. But again, I don't mind. So I'm going to make sure he doesn't. There goes him. You can give over. You are not surviving that, buddy. Well, there goes my gunner. But he doesn't have an engine. I don't have an engine. See if we can maybe swing the lower gunner out. Nah. I love how he's still shooting at me. Dude, your engine's dead. Just join me in the field and we'll hug this out, alright? That's it. See? We just had to hug this out. But there you go. This thing can absolutely clap. That's 6 kills, 2 bases. Whilst it isn't the most... like, it's obviously a little bit more expensive than the Hudson, if memory serves me correctly. This thing can certainly do some work.